Okay, we're online. I'm calling to order the meeting of the Stonecrest Housing Authority for August 11th, 2021. The time is 4:04 p.m. First order of business is a roll call. Please indicate your presence when I call your name. Vice Chairman and Treasurer Edwina Clanton.
Here.
Commissioner Dennis Day.
Here.
Commissioner Elliott Forrest.
Horace Elliott here.
Horace Elliott, sorry. Wow. I have more trouble with your name and I don't know why. And Secretary Marty Garrison.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. All commissioners are present. Call for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Motion. Oh, okay.
We have a second.
Second.
Horace Elliott seconds.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, when I call your name, you approve, say aye. If you don't, say nay. Vice Chairman and Treasurer Edwina Clanton.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Forrest Elliott.
Aye.
Secretary Marty Garrison.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Next order of business is reviewing and approving the minutes for July 14th, 2021, our last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call your name, signify your approval with an aye or disapproval with a nay. Vice Chairman and Treasurer Edwina Clanton.
Aye.
Commissioner Dennis Day.
Aye.
Commissioner Forrest Elliott.
Aye.
Secretary Marty Garrison.
Aye.
The minutes were approved unanimously. The next item on the agenda is public comments. I did not receive any. So we'll go to reports and presentations. Edwina, could you give us a treasurer's report?
So the city is still handling our affairs. And this time, I normally pick up the checks from them, but this time I think they're gonna just pay them themselves. So I really don't have a report to give. They're handling it.
Did we have a late fee? Did I see that we had a late fee on something?
On our, I believe on our lease, me and the real estate agent are gonna get together, and I told her if there was a late fee that we'd have to pay it on the next month rent. So I'll find it in the lease agreement and forward it to the city.
Okay.
Yeah. How much is the rent?
$3,500.
A month?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think it might be 5%, but I need to pull the lease and make sure.
Okay.
All right, and the reason we had a late fee?
I sent the bills over on the 2nd, I believe, and they're just not she never called me to come pick up the check. So I assumed that they weren't, since we weren't in compliance, they had decided to do something different. So I didn't bother them anymore about picking up the checks. I figure they know what they're doing, so.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
that remains.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know
I have
if
a question.
looking at that first report they sent out. I don't know if they know what they're doing or not.
Yeah, and that brings up another topic that I think this might be an appropriate place to discuss it. We had an IGA, we thought we had an IGA that City Council approved back in September of 2020. For whatever reason, the IGA never got signed, but we've been acting as if that IGA was in place. I thought the IGA was in place. So all the things that were covered in the IGA pretty much came to pass. But when it came to filing the registration with the Department of Community Affairs for 2020, we asked them to do that. And they never said that they weren't going to do it, but it never got done. And now their position is that since the IGA wasn't signed, they're not responsible. They can't be held responsible for the fact that that registration didn't happen. But they're also saying that because that registration didn't happen, we're not compliant, and that they're going to hold on to the housing authority funds until we are compliant. So we're in a kind of a catch-22 there. At a work session on Monday, I don't know if anybody else had a chance to do that work session. A new IGA was presented for the housing authority. And I thought that, frankly, I thought it was a very reasonable IGA. But there was a lot of pushback from City Council. And I'm sad to say that for some reason, City Council seems to see us as a liability and instead of a partner. And I think our intent has always been to be a good partner. I think if you go through our meetings, we've made every intent to be a good partner, to run our meetings legally. But for some reason, the city seems to think of us as a liability. So I'm going to throw something out there for consideration. I just want you to think about it. But at this point, but I'm questioning whether we need an IGA with the city. We can do our own audit. We can do our own registration with the Department of Community Affairs to bring us into compliance. The IGA would pay them $1,000 a year for their services, which was one of the things that City Council questioned on Monday, whether that was enough money. We can use that money instead to purchase a Zoom account, set up a temporary web account like I've demonstrated in the past, where we can post all our meeting minutes, our agendas, our reports, our projects. I could just as easily call on Common Ground to advertise our meetings as I do to call City Hall to advertise our meetings. So something to consider, whether we really need to have an IGA. Now, the downside is that the IGA that was presented includes the mechanism for the city to give the housing authority money, to budget money for the housing authority, which also got resistance from City Council. But if we don't have some kind of an agreement with the city, then they're not going to want to provide us with any funds. But I have to say that we never, at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't know about other commissioners, but I was never under the impression that we were going to get funds from the city. I was quite surprised when it looked like we would. So anyway, I'm just offering that. It's kind of a sad situation. Other cities, the housing authority works very closely with the city. They're considered close partners. They're both working towards the same end, which is for the benefit of the citizens of the city. Not sure why the City Council has this impression of us. I don't feel it's deserved, but that's just the way it is. So anybody want to comment?
I just want,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, I think we should work to get some type of relationship with the city. I don't think we could be effective without having a close relationship to the city. If we're proposing that the city issue bonds, all types of things, I don't think we can be effective without that. So I think we need to work through those issues and come up with some type of agreement, even though I understand we are a separate legal entity, but we need that hand-in-hand relationship with the city to be effective.
Have we heard from the city as to what they're disgruntled about or what the problems are with the housing authority?
I mean, I can only go by what I heard at the work session. Nobody's contacted me directly. But I think they're just afraid that somehow, we're going to misuse the funds or something. I don't want to put words in their mouths. I don't want to make assumptions. All I know is that there was a lot of pushback at that work session on Monday.
Yeah,
Well, for me, when we all got started, I thought we were under the umbrella of the city of Stonecrest. And it definitely seems to me like there's much more of a separation. And I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Again, we should be under the umbrella of the city. And it seems like we're going separate. Well, we're separate entities.
Well, that's not my desire. That's for sure.
We got our own this, our own that. Why wouldn't it be under the city with also some say so or whatever?
Well, legally, we're a separate entity. But practically speaking, it's the city that appoints us. So
Yeah.
there's certainly that connection. We should have a close relationship with the city.
So Bill, I want to add something. You said that we would pay the city $1,000 a year. When I read the IGA, it said that would be the minimum. We would
Correct.
pay them 10% of all the money we took in. And we have some deals on the table or some things on the table, and they would be paid considerably a lot more than $1,000 to do the services. So, and I think one of the things they were talking about is the insurance and all that. That's I mean, anyway.
Yeah, we can talk about how we should have a relationship. Any suggestions on what we should do to patch the relationship?
Would it help? And I've always been thinking about this. Why do we have a building where we're paying rent and we have that large city hall? Why aren't we even under the same roof? That may help.
Well,
Amen. That was the question I had.
Well, we did vote to have that building.
I know, but things are different now, and we're in a situation that wasn't the same back then, and that could save some money.
And that ends at the end of the year. That lease ends. So we don't have that to worry about. So at this point, it's not the money, it's the relationship.
I think it would help if we were under the same roof. So help.
Well, I mean, they're not even under the roof right now. They're, discussing that now. So
well, and the other issue is that City Hall is very short on space.
Right.
So it's a difficult.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons, we went and got our own facility. In our mind, we were going to help City Hall by alleviating some of their space problems. We were going to share our space with the development authority or any committee that wanted to meet. Our intent was to share that facility. Of course,
it should be
COVID.
under Stonecrest and they can pay for it. And we all share it. We all won.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, legally, we're not all one. We're partners, but we're a separate entity.
Partners, okay.
And that's because of the laws of the state.
Right. And I don't want us to lose sight that we don't want our housing authority to go to DeKalb County. That means all the money that, all the developments that come to Stonecrest, DeKalb County will get the money for it. We want to keep the money here in Stonecrest. It'll help our citizens. It'll help our city. It's just good if our housing authority stays in operation. And if we can't make city council want us. We can only explain to them how important we are to the city. We just need to work on the relationship, I think.
Could
Yeah,
we
well,
maybe
because
have,
city. Go
But
ahead.
nothing really happened except for the IGA.
could we have
Okay.
a reconciliation meeting or something with the city to find out what their concerns are? I mean, with that building, we got $42,000 a year
Right.
that we are being responsible for. And so whatever money we have, that's a great big debt for no understanding. I mean, if somebody else, if another committee or another functional city wanted to use the building, are they going to reimburse us for that use? Is there a rental agreement or something? I think we need to sit down with them and see if we can kind of ferret out what their problems are with us and see if there can't be some resolution of those, and we can move forward with a smooth program that's going to benefit the city. I mean, this is like a husband and wife that are, in separate rooms of the house and not talking.
Yeah, and we were created from the city. The city requested that this be put together. We didn't decide we're just going to have a housing authority, and we went to the city and said we're going to be the housing authority. It was reversed. Housing authority came to us. George Turner came to me and said, we're putting together a housing authority. Asked me what I want to be a part of.
Correct.
So.
Correct. Well, so I guess all we can do is wait and see what the final IGA looks like. We're going to have to deal with this issue of our monies.
Tim, are we providing input to the IGA, or the city is just creating the IGA and saying, here's the IGA?
I didn't know anything about the IGA. When I saw it on the agenda for the work session, I assumed they were going to talk about the IGA they already approved, and was surprised to see that they had developed a totally new IGA. Again, I don't have any problems with the wording of the IGA as it stands now, but I went online and managed to find it, and that's why I sent it to you before this meeting. I don't know that you've had a chance to look at it, but my concern isn't with the IGA as they presented it. My concern is with the IGA in its final, in the final form that it's in, whether it's, if they presented the IGA that they had on Monday today, I wouldn't have a problem with it, and I would recommend it to the housing authority. But if they're going to, make the fees that we pay them unmanageable, if they reduce it to where they're not doing a whole lot for us, then I have to question whether it's worth it or not.
Yeah, I'm confused on, and I want to ask our attorney, who should be working with them? Because their attorney, I listened to part of that work session, and their attorney is heavily involved with working on this IGA. Shouldn't our attorney be involved with that as well, negotiating on our behalf?
Yeah, and I think that happens after the city council approves their version. And when they approve their version, then they present it to us and we can negotiate.
Let me comment on that.
Thank you.
If you'll just give me a few minutes to, the city council voted unanimously to create the housing authority for the sole purpose that it was going to be used as an economic, engine for the city, plus the opportunity to make fees as developers come in and wish to do transactions in which the housing authority can help them with. One is issuing bonds, which we have no responsibility for payment of. The city doesn't issue them, we issue them. And also the authority has a way, by virtue of entering into private enterprise agreements with partners, the developers, and can create an ad valorem tax benefit for the developer. And this is commonly done throughout DeKalb County. It's done through the DeKalb Housing Authority. But that's where you end up getting into the deals and having residuals of cash flow and parts of the developer fee and all of these things that we have on the last transaction that's there. The mayor has the appointments. So if we start looking at what the politics is going on, I think we're just in the middle of politics, and it's taking place in connection with that. And it's clear that based upon the actions that was done by the General Assembly as far as moving all the power from the executive branch of the city to the legislative branch, I think that's what you're seeing here, is that they just want to be able to control what's taking place. And that's really not their position to do that, because they've organized the entity. It is separate. Now we never asked them for money at all. And then there was money that was allocated basically for economic development and stuff like that that took place. So, and finally, to get to the point about the IGA and why we haven't seen it, why Winston hasn't contacted me to go through it. The original IGA that was, and I have all my email tracks, that was actually presented to the city and had been signed by the authority, and supposedly was to be signed by the city, or was signed by the city. We don't know. They can't find a copy of it for whatever reason that's there. And we didn't retain a copy of what we signed, as I recollect, Bill. But that we worked with Venture Denmark throughout that whole process and coming into an agreement between the city and the housing authority as to how that's going to be. So to answer your question, the city has sort of pulled back away from us and are not really communicating with us. I'll have the conversation with Winston. But he's the city attorney, and he's going to follow whatever it is and whatever instructions that are there. The only thing I'm going to do is now ask that he provide us with copies of what he's proposing, or what they are willing to do, and then the decision will get down to whether or not you want to do it or not. You don't have to do it, because you are separate. As you read the comments that Winston had made, he's of the opinion that the authority can't survive without the city. I've not known of any authority that has ever gone out of business, and even the small ones in South Georgia and other places where we are. And I sit on an authority that nobody gets any sort of benefit from the city as far as income or whatever to operate. And this authority had never asked for that. And I do agree that we should do what we can to stop the bleeding on the building and be done with that one. The whole situation as to when it went into was bad timing. You had COVID hit right after that. And then we've had all of this other stuff that has gone on with it. But But I do think that there needs to be a good relationship between the city and the authority, because there are things that the city can help us with when we want to be able to do some things.
Well, maybe we could take two tracks on this. Tom, if you'd be willing to reach out to the city attorney and find out what you can. And maybe if the authority's okay with it, I will reach out to the acting city manager and ask us if there's some way that we can go ahead and in their minds become compliant. I mean, is everybody okay with us hiring our own auditor if it comes to it? We didn't have any. The only financial transaction we had in 2020, which is the year that we have to do this for, is we received $100,000. And there was that transaction, and then there was some $5, statement fees from the bank. That's it.
It would be easy to put
Right.
anything to it. I mean, we can go ahead and undertake that. And Bill, you may want to ask the city manager that Winston and I and she and you can sit down and talk about this without the legislature or the city council involved in it, just to really try to get a good understanding as to what's happening, or whether or not it's going to be the opinion of council that they just want to drive a nail into us. Then we know which way we have to go.
I noticed where in the document it talks about the city will allocate a budget in their discretion. I mean, we have apparently no involvement in that.
Correct.
As the document currently reads.
We never asked for any, and frankly, it was contemplated that you wouldn't get any because you would make sufficient fees in order that you could function as we're functioning now, not spend a lot of the money that we're on these fees, and use this money in order to help people with their housing. I mean, that's really and that needs to be done, and it can be done. It's not even if we have to go get an audit and have somebody do the filing for us with DCA, well, that would be just a cost of doing business, but we need to go ahead and get it done.
Do you think that's what's behind it, that they have no audit, or they're trying to force us into an audit before they would even consider a budget for us?
No, they're saying that we need to do an audit before they'll transfer our funds, transfer the housing authority funds.
Well, I have to have that discussion because they're holding funds that aren't there.
And they have the books. The books reside with the city right now.
They have the funds, and that $100,000 was supposedly, because I carried that check around with me for months until I actually, basically said you need a bank account. And that wasn't a bank account. That wasn't a city account. That was a housing authority account, because you had an FEI, you had everything that was there to do it.
I'm trying to remember from law school 60 years ago, a writ of mandamus. Is that something that we could wave at them?
Well, a writ of mandamus is when a public official does something that shouldn't be doing, and you ask that it be done. But I don't think we don't need to get in that kind of contest with them unless they really want it. I think if we have the discussion with the city manager, the city attorney, and say, look, if you don't like us, or you don't want to be, if you don't want us to have this IGA, or you're going to get so onerous with what you're doing, then let us have our $71,000. We'll go get our audit. We'll go get in compliance. Because Right now, you've got a bond inducement sitting out there, which is an obligation that we have if they come through. This is the one which they will come through if these are the ones that have offered us the fees and everything else that keep going. We still have fees that are owed to us by DeKalb County. So it's
so my question is, I heard them clearly say that we were not in compliant and they wanted us to get in compliant. Why can't I know they have our funds, but look like we need to make a phone call and make something happen, because they're saying wait till their next city council meeting, which is at the end of the month, and then we're gonna have to wait. It's too much waiting and time is passing.
I actually called the city manager, or I emailed the city manager and said, let us know the name of the auditing firm that you're using. We'll use the same auditing firm and go ahead and get the audit done, and so we can be compliant. And she said no. she said that the city was going to take care of that.
Well, then, no, the city's, no, it's our responsibility to take care of it. We thought we had this IGA where they were going to take care of it. It was clear that was really the real reason to do it. Someplace to keep minutes, and someplace, and somebody who'll keep the books. I bet that's really it. And it's
why don't we execute the IGA as they proposed it, and then see what happens?
Say again?
Why don't we sign their proposed IGA and then see what they do?
Yeah.
I don't think it's completed yet.
Right, yeah.
Well, they can, we can sign anything. I mean, if you want to sign it, that's not a bad thought. So
Yeah, but
I mean, that seems like the condition precedent.
Well, but the council was still proposing changes to it, though. I didn't listen to the whole meeting, but they were proposing quite a few changes to it.
Right. So this is something that we need to negotiate and really take a close look at. I mean,
Right.
they're dealing with it in a manner where they're not desiring to negotiate. That's clear by virtue of their going through and having this agreement. It would be very easy to bring us in and to have the discussion.
right.
But that's not what they have done.
Can we request a meeting with them
We can.
I think
and iron it out?
I think that's what we've suggested with the city.
It sounds to me like they're trying to just want us to go away, huh? Just dissolve.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't understand why they're taking the position they're taking.
Because the last time it was supposed to be give them 30 days and they would return the money, and now all this.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is we did as a housing authority to make them take this attitude towards us. I think we've held all our meetings in the open. We've been overly transparent. I've sent all the documentation, all our approved minutes to be filed with the city. I enjoy working with city staff. They are fantastic, very accommodating. It's been a great relationship. So I just don't understand where it's coming from.
So is it all about the control of the money?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I
sure did.
I don't want to, I don't want to.
Well, we need to ask them. Ask them, find out why. What can we do to turn this around so we can move forward? They may tell us.
I'm going to take Attorney Curry's advice and see if we can't get a meeting with me and Attorney Curry and and the city manager and see if we can't figure this out. Is there anybody else who feels they want to be part of that meeting?
I think we
the
all should
city's
be.
Yeah, the
Well,
city's
we
attorney.
all-
should- yeah,
We
Yeah,
all
I'd
get
like to be-
together, it becomes a public meeting and we,
Right.
so we really can't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
How about a letter in which we send to them our concerns and ask for either a meeting or a response in which they give us an answer to, what the holdup is and what the problems are. And then at least we've got something in writing, historical document that we can go from there.
And the city councilman will get the letter as well, since,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, when we say the city, who are we talking about the city? Aren't we talking about the city manager, city council?
Commissioners,
Well, it's
Yeah.
so very specifically, I mean, the people in the particular discussion on Monday were the city councilors and the city manager and the city attorney.
Okay.
I think those are the people who.
okay.
Those are the people that ought to get the letter.
So how about this? How about I draft that letter? We have it, I run it by our attorney. And if everybody, do you want me to present it at the next meeting or do you want me to do it through email, get your feedback?
Yeah,
I think do it at the earliest opportunity in the most, simple way.
Okay, so
Expeditious way.
And I would say send it to them now, not wait till the next meeting. Send it
That's
to
what I'm
'em.
saying.
yeah,
So hopefully by the
wanna make
next
sure-
meeting, we might be able to get it resolved.
I just want to make sure I'm getting the consensus, that my letter covers the consensus of the housing authority and it's not Bill Bruckner's letter, but it's the housing authority's letter. So I'll draft it. I'll run it by Attorney Curry. I'll email it to everybody for your feedback and then we'll send it out.
Yeah, but
Okay.
would it be helpful to have that meeting first and ask them what do they need from us instead of sending just a open letter saying better if you had the meeting you talked about with the city attorney, the city manager, you and our attorney, and to kind of say what are you looking for, and then we can send them a letter to address these specific items. Just an open letter. I don't know what they're going to respond with.
Well, I would suggest, and I think the idea of doing the letter now, just getting on record that, that we're recognizing that they're on an IGA and we want to have the opportunity to sit down with them to discuss an IGA. And two, we would like to have our funds in order that we can engage an auditor to do the audit and file it with DCA. That's really all the letter really needs to say.
Yeah, because I mean, at the moment, we're just existing de facto.
We can use the letter to ask for a meeting.
Ask for a meeting and ask for the money.
Well, I'm going to go back to y'all time. So the ladies just text me about the rent. And I'm concerned the letters and all this, city council gets to vote next time they meet, I believe. And if we don't have an IGA for them they've already vetted, then they're not going to vote on it. And then it's going to be put off to September's meeting. This could go on to the end of the year. I mean, we just need to know what can we do to get in compliant and that they would release our money.
Edwina, we know what needs to be done. So we'll say we're going to go do it is really what we're saying we're going to do is go do it. We need the funds to be able to pay these people.
Right. I get it. I just wanted to remind everybody that they just can't, they're gonna, they got to look at it and vet it and all that. So time is not, anyway. Okay. Cool.
So that brings up, so if we want to just go ahead and get that audit done and do that filing with the DCA to clear us for 2020, can they refuse to pay the check even though it's the housing authority's money?
Well, yeah, they can refuse it and, we'll just have to deal with that.
Well,
And, they can, but they won't have a basis to refuse it.
Okay, and then there's the matter of just finding the auditor. We'll approach the city's auditor first. And hopefully we won't get any pushback from them, because I do know that the city said that they were going to have discussions with the that auditor over this matter.
Well, let's get the name of the auditor with Mullen and Jenkins, and I'm a CPA and I understand auditing, and I'll be glad to talk to him, and we'll just, if we can have authority to go ahead and start engaging people, we will. This cannot not be an expensive process because you have two transactions.
Right, and they said all we need to do is submit an invoice and they would consider paying it, so.
Well, they can consider, but they won't. But I still think we should ask for the money, and we haven't formally asked for it. I think now is the time to do that.
All right, so action items are to, write this down.
Get in compliance.
Yep, get in compliance. Number one, get in compliance.
If we wait on them, they don't want us in compliance. That's, that doesn't do anything for them.
Two is to send a letter stating our position and requesting a meeting.
hopefully prior to the next board meeting. Next council meeting.
We'll do that as quickly as possible. And I'll go through that process where I'll draft the letter, run it by Tom, run it by all of you via email, and assuming based on your feedback, we'll just send it out. Anything else? All right, so the next item on the agenda is insurance. I noticed that the IGA addressed insurance. And Edwina, you were going to hold off until we had our funds to, before you were going to go and search out insurance. Is that correct?
Yes, because E&O is not that expensive. I have it. It's not that expensive. So, but if everybody wants me to go ahead and start looking for it, so we can, as soon as we get our money, we can do that. But we don't know if they're gonna furnish us the insurance or we're gonna have to get it. So it's a lot of things we don't know right now.
I think for expediency, perhaps if you went ahead and did some research on that, and perhaps
Bring a price.
found, and we'll have that in our back pocket.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'll do that.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is to talk about the finance director, the city finance director's report on our funds. Let me pull that up. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. So as you can see, based on her report, we did receive those funds, that $100,000 in 2020, and there were no other transactions in 2020 except for administrative fees with the bank, $5 fees. And it wasn't until this year, February this year, that we started having transactions. Edwina had 2 months worth of rent payments, or no, a deposit on the lease, which was that $7,000. We got the city transferred 2 deposits of $75,000 to the what we thought was our bank account, which was money which represented the $150,000 that was budgeted in the city's general fund. We had some other fees. We had Attorney Curry's fees. another thing that the IGA addresses is paying attorney Curry's fees, which I thought was interesting. And that $150,000 is supposed to include fees, include our attorney fees, our legal fees.
And Bill, could I make a couple of comments? Because
sure.
the engagement letter that I entered into, agreed to with y'all, was that all of what I call the perfunctory matters relating to representing the authority, like attending meetings and talking to Bill and stuff like that, that there's no charge for that. As you do a deal, I do, we do make fees associated with that. The only thing that I would invoice you for would be things that would be outside of that realm, the ordinary associated with that, other than, such as if if I'm reviewing documents for you and those types of things that I otherwise wouldn't do. That $520 was probably about the time the lease was going about, those discussions with it. So so I'm just trying to tell you that this is not, we do this more as an accommodation than as something that it's more of a service in order to help you all do what you do. And what we bring to the table is the ability to understand the financing and the bonding and how all that works.
Thanks, Tom. And then you can see that, we had some check fees. All of these charges have to do with the property, paying the electric bill, and paying somebody to mow the lawn, which was required as part of the lease.
So what about Bill, the check order? We never had a checking account, so where did the check order come from?
So can I explain that?
Yes, go ahead, Edwina.
So when I was first put on the checking account, I needed to go ahead and pay the rent. So they gave me some counter checks, and that was back in April. And I wrote those two checks, 102. They numbered them 102 and 103. And then when I got the new checks from the bank, I forgot that I had written to look at the number. So I rewrote the 103. I didn't rewrite it. It was just another check that had passed that I wrote the rent and to pay the guy that paid the.
I thought we didn't have a checking account.
So the account that the city had for the Stonecrest Housing Authority, they put Edwina became was given permission when she was made treasurer to write checks off of that city account.
I was actually put on.
Yeah, I mean, you had that account back at least back in May 2020.
I mean, we've always been on the impression that account was opened up with our tax ID number, and the statement says Stonecrest Housing Authority.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was opened up with the city's tax ID number instead of ours. But at that point, Edwina was a signee on the account and had permission to write checks.
Right. So I got a money order to do the deposit and the first month rent for the building because I didn't even have counter checks. And so I went back to the bank and I asked them, I said, I need some checks because it was time to pay rent again. And I got those counter checks. And then when I got the new checks, I started writing from the original one instead of voiding it out, the 102 and 103. So in May, I ended up writing another check, number check 103, 102 and 103.
So about that $150,000 that we got in the form of two $75,000 deposits, the city prefers well, the city insists that we, instead of transferring that money as a lump sum, that money remains with the city and that we do invoices against it. And they also prefer to, rather than giving the money to the housing authority to pay those invoices, that they pay those invoices directly. So at least that was the intent. I don't know what the intent now is after that meeting on Monday.
Yeah, I'm confused, Bill. Do we have, is there, so it's two accounts, one that the city controls, and then there's another account that we can write checks on? I'm confused
No.
as to how this is.
At one point, we were able to write checks on what turns out to be the city account. We don't have any funds to open up our own account with.
So it all went into the city's account?
Correct.
Okay, and so we just were at one point able to write checks on it. Okay,
That's correct.
okay.
So it sounds to me like it is a big portion is about the money.
Yeah.
So do they want us to like not have a checking account and just sounds like they don't want us to have our own account but instead have us write invoices and they pay it.
And I don't
I
know
wonder if that's a big part of the problem.
And
Yeah,
we
but
could get
why?
stuck with having incurred a bill and they refuse to give us the funds to pay it.
Yeah, and we already have a late fee because, this wasn't done in a timely manner. And I don't know, Tom, I don't think that they legally have the right to do that.
No.
In
So or
In
they've taken control of funds that belonged to you.
Now, I can understand their position on the $150,000 that's in their budget that they're allocated for the housing authority, separate from the housing authority funds. I can see where they want to control that. I have no problems with that.
I give it back to them. Tell them to keep it.
Well, they've taken it out. As you can see at the bottom of the sheet,
Yeah.
They've withdrawn that $150,000.
And I do want to go on record as saying we do have a bill from for social media. They said they would, our marketing and our attorney fees, that they would take care of out of that budget. And that's okay if they don't, but I did submit an invoice and I guess I'll know, I guess that'll just come out of our own money. So it's just not, it's
Don't
not.
seem like we had no money. They got it.
Well, yeah,
Submit the invoice.
I did. I submit all our invoices to them.
So
But they could say, they could have a problem with the invoice and say, well, we don't think that this was a proper expenditure on the part of the housing authority, and so we're not going to pay it.
Right.
Now, so then what happens? We've lost credibility with our financial situation.
with our vendors, yeah.
What about that, Tom?
Well, we don't, it's not an issue until they don't
Don't pay it. Yeah.
don't pay it.
And
Well-
then we take action.
At least we'll be playing nice since it seems to be a little war.
Well, I mean, from my standpoint, there's no war. I mean, we have been nothing but amenable to everything the city has wanted. We want to be good partners. We don't want this animosity.
And I say, if it's not required for us to do the audit, why would we even take on that expense? They said they would take care of it.
It is
should
required.
legally
We
show
are-
it to us.
It is.
It is required. That is required.
I'm a little slow.
That might be one of the triggers that we could use in terms of, you want an audit. When do you expect that you'll have your audit completed? We turn over whatever, 3 or 4 or 5 transactions that we've been involved in. It's on them now to do the audit. If that is the condition by which they're not wanting to release monies to us,
Yeah, but the problem with that is, they've been dragging their feet around that audit. They questioned the audit in the meeting on Monday, whether they wanted the liability of doing an audit for the housing authority. The attorney Denmark tried to explain to them that there would be no liability. But nonetheless, that was one of the things they had issues with. So if we're going to rely on them for an audit, it could drag out for months and we would be non-compliant that whole time. So I think we really need to take it into our own hands and make ourselves compliant.
Well, then we would just need to bring that to their attention so that they're not dragging it out.
That's what we want to accomplish, in our discussions and in our meeting. Is that we do want, we're going to go, we'll go ahead and proceed. Just give us the name of who your audit partner is and we'll talk with them and we'll engage you separately.
And we take care of the IGA. That should be it.
Well, we could tell them the IGA as presently proposed, we see nothing wrong with it and we're ready to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
But is that the final IGA that you would want us to be involved with? You said proposed. Is there a final IGA document? And I kind of get the idea that they sent this proposal out with the idea that they internally were going to have some more discussion to see what else they might want to put in a final IGA.
Yeah, I think that the way it was left in the meeting was that, city council members raised all kinds of questions about whether we want this in the IGA, whether the fee that we charge is high enough, whether, we want to pay lawyer fees. And they just raised all kinds of questions. And so, and didn't have any, and, didn't address those questions specifically. And so, this is going to be an ongoing discussion with them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We need to push the button, bring it to a head.
And if Tom get on it to take us through the process of becoming the IGA.
But we can re-sign the old IGA and give it back, say here.
That sounds real simple.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, here's the IGA you all have been complaining that we didn't sign. It's signed. Now what?
It's signed.
Yeah, that we did sign it. I mean, I've got the email.
That's what I'm saying.
We did it, yeah.
No, yeah, but I mean, to re-sign it. Do we have a copy of it?
Sure.
The original IGA?
And excuse me for saying, wasn't that 40% that they would get instead of 10%?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The final one was 10%.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, let's sign it.
I mean, they had the opportunity to pick the 10 grand up if they had signed last year.
Yeah.
And I know Marty will back me up that we signed a lot of stuff.
Huh?
Yes.
And I don't remember specifically signing that, but I'm sure I did.
Well, maybe those are the papers they talking about. Go through it again and see if we missed something. And then take care of the original ones, redo that. That should be done real quick, within a week.
Yeah, but they still have to sign it.
Can't we just ask them, send us the unsigned IGA? We'll sign it.
They can't find it. Or
then we need to find it. We need to find it or get a new one started.
Yeah, but even if we found it, it would never have been signed by them. I don't think we ever saw a signed IGA by the city.
No.
Whatever the IGA form or package, whatever it is, if Tom could go on and do a new one or find the old one, let's get that. I've
got a copy of the unsigned IGA that they approved at City Council back in September of last year. So we can go ahead and sign that and send it to them.
I think
There
so.
you go. And at least that pushes the button. Now the ball's in their court.
Well, no, not until we take care of the audit part, right?
Yeah,
That's it.
well, yeah, I think we're just, we're gonna have to, we're gonna need to go ahead and do our own audit. And it shouldn't be that expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
How many transactions
And
have
what
we
would
had
that
to have to
cost?
audit?
What would the audit cost?
I don't know what it would cost, but I would think if it were less than, it couldn't be more than a couple of $1,000 max.
I can't see that since we only did, even in looking at this, none of this we did. So they need to audit, well, not none of it. But whatever we cannot identify, then they audit it. Other than that, I don't know. That to me, that's money we shouldn't have to
But Marty,
spend.
they're only auditing 2020, so those funds that are at the top, Bill, roll it down to from the top. They only have to audit the 100,000 and the $5 fees. It stops at February 20. Yeah, stops at yeah, that one. That's all they have to audit.
Okay,
Right
well, how about this? If we don't have a problem with anything that's on here, still put it back on them to find whatever is wrong.
There you go.
But
But I thought they said they weren't going to do the audit. They said we had to do the audit. We'd just be going back and forth and going in circles.
I thought they said something, and the last thing they said was we'll handle it. Something. My memory's not what.
When I tried I attempted to get the name of the auditor that the city used. I guess the bottom line is they wouldn't give me the name, but that doesn't
Isn't
mean
that public?
But that's when they said they will handle it, right?
Right. They said they would look into it.
Is not their audit published somewhere?
And it doesn't include us.
Well, but what I'm saying is the auditor, the CPA, that name would appear on that document.
Yeah, it
Would it
seems
not?
I could probably find the name of the auditor.
And so we can get that auditor to audit our, what is it, 1 month or so, 1 year? Get them
It's
to
1 year.
do that, and then send them the bill.
Yeah, but why we don't have to use their auditor. There are lots of CPAs that do auditing. We can get our own and have them go to the city and say they have all the records. They have to provide the records to our auditor. Just giving this auditor this spreadsheet, how are they going to audit that?
Yeah.
That sounds like separation again to me.
But we are separate.
Yeah, I just don't want us to.
Not only that, I'm a treasurer of a similar size organization in money, and we pay less than $500 at the end of every year to get an audit. We get audited every year, and it was less than 500 with these few transactions. I mean,
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that sounds okay.
and they have to do it
Not
because
$2,000.
right, they have to do it because they have the bank statements and the picture of the $100,000 check. So somebody has to either give it to us to get it done, or they have to do it themselves.
Okay, so why don't we search for an auditor
We can
under
do,
$500?
well, with these 5 transactions, I don't think they could do that in good conscience, charge us all that money.
They do it pro bono.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So
do you want us to look for a CPA?
Yeah.
We need a governmental accountant, somebody
Okay.
who does this. So let's
Ted, what kind do we need?
somebody who does governmental work.
Okay.
Everybody does. So
Okay.
Malden and Jenkins is one. There's another one called Drafen and Tucker that does. We just, the easiest thing to do would be to get Malden and Jenkins to do it. So let me see if they'll give us the name of the auditor.
Okay,
If not,
there we go.
I'll make an open records request for every document that they have sent us.
There you go. That's perfect. Oh, and I just want to
I
point out,
agree.
this report was done in July. So that $77,353, it's less than that because we've had expenses since then. So,
All right, you all passed the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Stonecrest at your meeting on August 21, 2020. It should be, you should be in, you have all the minutes, don't you?
yeah. Oh, we did. Yes. And I also have when the city council approved it.
Okay, which was when?
Hold on.
You said September, wasn't it?
Yep, it was September 14th, 2020.
Okay. Okay.
All right, next item. So I'm taking it that we still weren't able to get together to discuss the using the SHA funds.
We were not.
Can we take the time right now to set up that meeting?
I did see well, since we were not able to set it up, I did have a couple ideas, and I don't know if I'm on the right track on, is this the way we want to spend our funds? But I'm just a community person, and it was all about the community. And I was thinking with some of the funds that we have, I don't know what our budget would be, that we sponsor the schools in the city of Stonecrest, maybe special events on things that they were doing to help some type of program that might need all the schools could use some money.
Yeah.
And the second thing I thought about was rental assistance to the citizens of Stonecrest. Of course, we probably would have to set up guidelines and all that kind of stuff, but those are the two things I came up, and I don't know if I'm on the right track. And this is what you're talking about as far as spending Stonecrest Housing Authority funds.
I would really like to have this meeting so that, you know, everybody can throw out those kinds of ideas that you threw out, Marty, and that we can then brainstorm, because, you know, one idea leads to another idea kind of a thing. So can we find a date and time to have that meeting? We do that now so that this doesn't keep getting pushed out.
Has
Do we wanna-
anyone reached out to any other housing authority in the area and see what they use their funds for? We don't have to do that, but that'll at least give us a general idea of what other housing authorities are doing.
I did.
Again, that's the kind of thing that we
did think
could be-
about that, but I didn't have a clue on how to reach him. Didn't know whether or not because I really wasn't for sure how we want to spend our money. You know,
and that's why, let me reiterate, we need to get together and have a meeting and have these kinds of brainstorms and be able to talk about how we go about doing that sort of thing. So let me ask again, can we set a date and time to have our meeting to discuss these funds?
I don't know how long it would take, but how about 30 minutes after this one?
We would have to set up a separate Zoom meeting. I think we need more than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been on and on. What's it, last two, 3 meetings? Okay.
Right.
How about-
Go ahead.
How about tomorrow?
Yeah, I have several meetings. I couldn't do tomorrow.
Well, this is only a meeting between Forrest, Marty.
Not everybody. Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought everybody wanted. Oh, okay.
No, that, remember, I assigned this
You
project
did.
to you and Forrest and Attorney Curry, and I'll be happy to sit in as well.
Well, that'll be fine. I thought we would, for some kind of way, I'm thinking all of us was getting ready to join the meeting. But,
No.
No, you'd have to have a separate meeting to do that.
So is tomorrow?
Mr. Tom and Elliot, do you all have 30 minutes? Maybe we can do a conference call, a three-way call?
I've got it, yeah.
How about you, Mr. Tom?
When after this call?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so Tom, do you have can you send an invite to Marty and Forrest and myself?
I'll be glad to.
All right, we'll have that call after this meeting.
Okay, so just go to my email and get the invite.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Right now.
All right. Old business. The city on Monday talked about having in-person meetings starting August the 23rd. And I think that since the city's position is to have open meetings, that we will be required to do so as well. So our next meeting in September, until further unless something changes, will be at the Housing Authority offices, 4 o'clock. Does that still work for you, Marty, if we do it at 4 o'clock in person?
Yes.
So it'll be at 4 o'clock. I will figure out how we can record that meeting and put it up on YouTube. I'll talk to the city staff and see what's available to us in terms of setting that up. Any other discussion around that?
What's that date in August?
No, September. Our next meeting is in September. It's the second Wednesday in September.
The 8th, September 8th.
Yes, September the 8th.
Okay.
All right. I sent you all some updates of the purchasing policy, which was based on some of the input that I received. And really the issue that I found, unless anybody has anything else, was around the definition of emergency procurements. And most of those emergency procurements, I think, made more sense for a city where they were talking about, actions around things that might affect the health, safety, or welfare of the public or city employees. And I don't see personally where the housing authority would have those kinds of emergencies unless somebody thinks otherwise, unless you've thought of something, you can think of something that would constitute an emergency. But I do see where we might say that an emergency exists if a condition, malfunction, or occurrence in which the procurement of an item, in other words, goods, services, or professional services, is essential to comply with regulatory requirements. So, maybe, like this audit, maybe you could think of this audit we need to do as an emergency procurement because we need to be compliant. For example, I'm just using that as an example. Any other ideas around that or comments? Okay. And then in terms of the code of ethics, I just made some minor changes and added language based on Commissioner Day's feedback, where we should get the commissioners to sign a statement regarding potential conflicts of interest, rather than just doing it when you become a commissioner and or when your term is renewed, that we go ahead and do it every year. And I was thinking that the first meeting of every year is the time we turn in those statements and the code of ethics defines, the questions that are asked around those conflicts of interest. So
Do we have a term? We don't have a term, do we? Like serve?
We do. We do.
5 years max, isn't it?
It's 5 years.
Yearly
max.
renewals.
Correct.
Yearly renewal until 5 years max.
Yeah, the District 1 is a 1 year, just to get things started. Initially, District 1 is a 1 year, District 2 is a 2 year, District 3 is a 3 year, District 4 is a 4 year, and District 5 is a 5 year. And then after that, they stagger it, and then it'll be 5 years every 5 years.
So how about if we do the check at the renewal?
Well, that's what the Code of Ethics says today, that you do it at the renewal. Commissioner Day thought that it would be better if we do it every year.
Yeah, like the
Every year
changes
for
last year.
everybody.
Yeah, for everybody, every year for
Okay.
everybody.
Well, that'll keep it simple. We won't have to be tracking how long
Exactly. And
people have been with us.
And we could make that a requirement of the first meeting of the Housing Authority every year.
Is that a motion?
It's not a motion. We're just discussing now.
Okay.
I think I'm at the point, based on those two revisions, if everybody's okay with them, where at our next meeting, I will send out the corrected or amended or renewed documents, and we can vote on them at our next meeting.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So the last item of business is we were trying to get a meeting with Fire Station 439, and I was not able to get a hold of Slew Wilkins. What I found out today, just before the meeting, is that he's been out of town because his mother is suffering from pancreatic cancer. And today he is busy trying to set up hospice care for her. And so he's going to be out of pocket for the rest of the week. So we were going to try to meet on August the 19th to have our meeting with him and settle on a logo, on document, on I forgot what they call it, but the things that you would use in a website, all that different kind of stuff that that he's been engaged to do for us. We're going to have to put that off until we can touch base with him after he's taken care of these issues around his mother's health. So I hope everybody's okay with that. I wish him the best, and
We're definitely sorry to hear about his mom.
very sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about that.
I lost my mom to that disease.
Yeah,
But I think until we go on and handle this part, that can be put on the back burner.
I
So
agree.
it's all working out.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll put that off for now, and Slew said he would get back to me when he's back in the saddle, and we can relook at getting together with him.
So I have a question. I submitted an invoice for him. Is that invoice for the work that he's already done, or is it for the work that he's done and work going forward?
Yeah, this is part of that work is getting together with us. And he sent out a number of questionnaires and things to get an idea of, what our mission statement is, what we want how we want the Stonecrest to be, marketed to the community, how we want the community to see us, and so that he can create things around that. And so that's part of what this meeting is about.
So how much was the invoice for?
He's already done some work on logos, which I think I did forward a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And then these meetings would be the rest of that work.
I'm not understanding that one. Okay, we haven't done a contract or anything with them, so we're being there's a fee for him to meet with us, and then I don't know, Edwina, what was the invoice for?
From my understanding, it's for the work that he's already done, the logos and all that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill.
I thought he was submitting a bid, trying to get a contract to do work for us. Why are we paying for that?
So as we discussed in the last meeting, he was approached outside of the housing authority to do work. He did that work, and included in the work is meeting with us to get our input, at the housing authority's input on what the face of the housing authority should be to the community. Because he did the work already, and because he
Yes, Bill, we never agreed to that. That the last meeting we said that 3750, whatever it was, he was going to have a meeting with us and move forward. My view, the work he did before we hadn't approved any of that. So that was his entree into us. That this is the type of work that I can do for you. We never agreed to pay him for that.
Right. Why should we pay for
And
that?
why would you?
Right.
He's coming to us and saying, I can give you a product, and I'd like for you to look at my product and see if you agree that you'd like to engage me to do it.
No,
Can I sign in, Mr. Chair?
How it happened.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, that's not how it happened.
correct, that's not how it happened.
Yeah, the mayor engaged him to do the work.
Oh, okay.
But
Authority, and I had the authority to do so at the time. So people have performed work for us. They have sent out the things to you all a couple of times with regards to selecting that particular opportunity for a brand. He has done his part. That's part one. So Commissioner Marty, that 3750, that's what that was for. The next
$3,750.
correct. So with that, that was sent to everybody with regards to being able to make a selection as to what will we look like? What will the brand look like with regards to the Stonecrest Housing Authority? That's sector number one. Then the separate set of meetings to come up was to be, how do we move forward with the full identity of who we are as the housing authority? Where would you like to go? That's why the whole questionnaire piece and meeting with him was set up for, part two. So I'm sticking my neck out here with regards to what we was authorized, to do, and at your last meeting, you did vote to pay that that portion with regards to what he's already completed. Now, to be able to move forward with a secondary part of website setup and all those other things, he submitted a proposal to um, Chairman Bruckner at that point, and that's where the situation with his mother has stopped him from moving forward for just a moment with regards to where you go with the full identity of your housing authority. So let's not treat other folks the way we're getting treated right now, because that's not right.
And he agreed that from a website standpoint, that he understood we were going to go out to bid, and that he would make his proposal, and that we would be looking at other proposals as well. But because of the circumstances where at the time the mayor had the authority to engage him to do the work for the housing authority, I think it's only fair that we allow him to do that piece and pay him for it.
Which that piece he has already completed. Phase one is already completed. The housing authority members, you all have to decide whether, what identity that you'd like. And as a matter of fact, Commissioner Marty, you were ready to do so at that particular meeting.
I sure was, because I loved what I saw. I really liked it. I really did. There's no question. There's no question. And as a matter of fact, since then, I've been seeing his work around, and I like that too. Right. But I guess I got a little lost in the what we actually voted on. I just simply remember the presentation, liking it, and we still have not made a decision. But if we have made the decision that we're going to use that company, then great, because I do like the work. Well, and I think it would represent us very well. I just don't recall the expense, but that could be me. I'm old.
Yeah,
that could be me. No question about that.
So that was for phase one. We all agreed upon that, and that's fine. Now, for phase two, full phase two is what Chairman Buckner just talked about, commissioners. Full website build out, a meeting with us with regards to what our goals and positions are, all of that. And so I just said that to say, Commissioner, you're not going to hear me chime in anymore with anything else other than Chairman Buckner, you did.
I don't know why not, Mayor Larry. It's always good to have you on board. It really is.
I just want to make you all successful, and if I can help make you all successful by working in the background, that's what I want to do. So the long and short of it is that, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to jump in for a second, is that Tom Curry and I have been working on this Stonecrest initiative since 2012, 2013. And it included the housing authority, the development the Stonecrest Visitors Convention Bureau. We know exactly where we wanted to take this from day one because of the charter change. The housing authority has always been a key component of where we wanted to go, because opportunities that developers were bringing to Stonecrest and how we can control quality and where we needed to go from there. But what you all as commissioners did, which was very unique in this opportunity, which is to build your own brand, one day have your own sales force or sales executive, and go out and find the deals that we want to entertain in the city of Stonecrest. And, during the time of your selection, let me make this clear so we're all on the same page. And I mean this in a super nice way. I know you all will take it this way. The council people did not select you. I selected you. They gave you recommendations, but by state law, the mayor appoints the members of the housing authority. It's very unique. So I have big faith in every one of you as to where we're going. And I just said that to say, Mr. Chair, I asked you for permission, if that still stands, that I could work with Commissioner Marty and Commissioner Force to be able to render some ideas as to, what I've learned over the years, and even met recently with the DeKalb Housing Authority, a good friend of Tom Curry's and I. His name is Pete Walker. He's my classmate at Clark Atlanta University. And his dad was my dad's classmate in Thomaston, Georgia. So I've known this man my whole life. And now he's the CEO of the DeKalb Housing Authority. And he is super smart. Gave me some ideas and willing to meet with us with regards to where we're going. Because what he told me, and I'll relinquish the mic, thank you all for your patience, is that what we're doing unique and very productive is building our own brand, just like we did in Stonecrest, to go out and make sure that we find those quality builders and quality developers that want to add value to Stonecrest. That's where this is. And footnote, I 100% agree that our representation, Mr. Curry, Attorney Curry, and our leaders meet and resolve whatever situation it is at the city of Stonecrest, because we could be a very strong dynamic force together. And I wish I could tell you what those issues are, but Commissioner Marty, without me being in the room, you're gonna figure them out quick. So I'll close by saying, our partner in this, at least our initial partner, which is Fire Station, they completed the first round of work. We've already submitted that invoice, my understanding, for him to be, of course, paid for his first round. And then if you all want to pick somebody else for round 2 and 3, be quite ahead. But let's keep our words as professionals and handle business as such, which I know we will. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And I'm glad that you're healthy again, or on that road to health.
Are you still there, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
I hope Tom and Forrest don't mind, but how about you joining us in the meeting on what to do with the SHA? You have a vision.
Commissioner Marty, you just made my year. Nobody has asked me to do jack. And I would be honored to give my input with where we are. And yes, ma'am.
That would be great.
With y'all's permission, I really would like that. And if you don't mind, Mr. Chair,
I don't mind.
I'm amongst friends here, so I feel comfortable in telling you all that my regimen has changed. I'm as of last couple 3 days, I came back, to City Hall, and I'm going to beat cancer for the 3rd time. So they changed up a lot of stuff with me. Even with some things that were natural that I didn't know about, quite frankly, that I learned from Commissioner Clanton. And I went from a shot and radiation regimen to a pill regimen, and I can feel my legs now, Commissioner Marty.
All right.
So I'm back. and you all make me happy just by allowing me to participate. So, Commissioner Forrest, thank you and your prayers with your wife for praying with me. And I know all of you all have been with me, with this journey. But to some, to maybe to their dismay, I'm probably going to live a long time. And Bill, thank you, for your leadership. And I was hoping that you would give me and Commissioner Day permission to go over to City Hall and handle some business. But I'm just going to sit. I'm just going to sit back until I get directions from you all. What to do.
I'm afraid that if you and Commissioner Day go to City Hall, there'll be nothing left of City Hall. All right. Well, thank you, Mayor.
That's good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Bill, I have a suggestion as I heard some of the talk that everybody was talking about. Maybe it would be a great idea to not only educate us, but as a way to educate the public as well. Why don't we get some of these people that have already been, like he talked about, the CEO of the DeKalb County Housing Authority, maybe get them to do a 10-minute talk on housing authorities, and that would educate us and educate them. Nothing long, and we put it as part of the agenda.
I think
that
that's
would
a
help
great idea.
all of us. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
Super idea.
Can we include Conyers?
Yeah, we can have different speakers at our different meetings, and that would really help educate everybody.
I agree.
I love to talk.
They travel the road that we've got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Commissioner Elliott. That is, man, it's a statement of the day. Yeah.
I like
Right.
that.
We have no new business. We don't have an executive session today. And do any of the commissioners have anything they'd like to say? Just in general.
I have one question. Phase 2 of fire station. Do you have a number on that, what it would cost?
Well, we're going to put that, we're going to go out to bid for phase 2. So Fire Station 439 already agreed to participate in the bidding process. And so, that price will be determined by whoever, wins the bid.
I was just asking what was theirs. I already like them.
Oh.
I don't think that I don't know that they've bid the second phase, but I might be wrong.
No, I'm just talking about, they have to have a fee or whatever it is. They had the $37.50. So
Sure,
we
but-
have no idea about phase 2 and the cost.
Yeah, and we have
And
to
how many more
define-
phases?
We have to define phase 2.
Okay.
It's not up to him to define it, it's up to us. So we'll define phase 2, we'll put it out to bid, and he's already agreed to be one of the bidders.
Okay. And the invoice for the $37.50 has already been submitted.
It's been submitted to the
Great.
city.
Okay. I'm done.
Anybody else? Any comments from anybody else?
I want to thank you all for letting me to participate. It means a lot to me. And I also want to thank you all for handling the business the right way for anybody. It doesn't matter who it is, for anybody. And this is the right way to handle business, because you can feel like how it's happening to us right now. And we wouldn't want that for anybody else. So thank you very much, commissioners. I appreciate it.
Mayor, this is Tom. I sent you the call-in information.
Excellent.
All right, so I'm going to need about 10 minutes after this meeting before we get on our next meeting, if that's okay. That meeting is with Commissioner Elliott, Commissioner Garrison, Tom, and the mayor and myself. All right, so I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you. Thank
10
you
minutes,
all.
Mr.
Till the next time.
Okay, I'm gonna change it till 5:55, okay?
5:55, perfect.
All
Thanks,
right,
Tom.
okay.